The Tower of Babel was the world's first great tower reel. Imagine a tower so enormous that people believed it reached toward the heavens. A monument built not by one king, but by an entire civilization. A structure that became a symbol of ambition, power, unity, and, according to one of history's most famous stories, humanity's greatest division. For thousands of years, the Tower of Babel has inspired artists, historians, archaeologists, and theologians. Some believe it was based on a real building. Others see it as a powerful symbolic story. But beneath the legend lies an ancient city that truly existed. A city whose towering temples once dominated the skyline of Mesopotamia. This is the mystery of the Tower of Babel. Was it history, myth, or something in between? Our journey begins in the fertile lands between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. Known to the ancient Greeks as Mesopotamia, this region is often called the cradle of civilization. Here, some of the world's earliest cities emerged. Writing developed. Laws were recorded. Trade flourished. And monumental architecture transformed the landscape. Among these cities, one name became legendary: Babylon. Founded thousands of years ago, Babylon grew from a modest settlement into one of the greatest cities of the ancient world. Its walls were said to be immense. Its temples magnificent. Its gardens became the subject of later legends. Merchants, priests, scholars, and rulers passed through its gates. For centuries, Babylon represented power itself. But towering above the city was something even more extraordinary: a massive stepped temple reaching toward the sky. Long before modern skyscrapers, the people of Mesopotamia built monumental structures known as ziggurats. Unlike the smooth-sided pyramids of Egypt, ziggurats rose in a series of giant terraces. Each level became progressively smaller. Wide stairways climbed toward a temple at the summit. These were not tombs. They were sacred mountains built by human hands. To the people of Mesopotamia, the temple at the top connected earth and heaven. It was believed to be the dwelling place of a city's patron deity. The tallest and most famous of these towers stood in Babylon. Its name was Itemenanki. In the Sumerian language, the name is often translated as the house of the foundation of heaven and earth. Even its name suggested a connection between the human world and the divine. Many historians believe Itemenanki may have inspired the later story of the Tower of Babel. Although the exact relationship remains uncertain, the similarities are difficult to ignore. The biblical story appears in the book of Genesis. According to the narrative, after the Great Flood, humanity shared a single language. The people gathered together and decided to build a city with a tower reaching into the heavens. Their goal was not only to create something magnificent, they also wished to make a name for themselves and prevent humanity from scattering across the earth. According to the story, God observed their actions. Their unity gave them extraordinary power. To halt the project, their language was confused. People could no longer understand one another. Construction stopped. The workers scattered across the world. The unfinished tower became known as Babel, because there the languages of humanity were confused. For thousands of years, this story has been interpreted in many different ways. Some understand it as sacred history. Others view it as a symbolic explanation for the diversity of languages. Still others see it as a warning against human pride and limitless ambition. Whatever one's interpretation, the story left an extraordinary mark on human culture. Painters imagined impossible towers spiraling into the clouds. Writers transformed Babel into a symbol of civilization itself. The question remained: could such a tower have existed? The answer may lie within the ruins of Babylon. Ancient Mesopotamian texts describe Itemenanki as an enormous ziggurat dedicated to Marduk, the chief god of Babylon. Unlike the biblical account, these records describe the tower as part of an active religious complex at the heart of the city. It was not an unfinished monument. It was a functioning temple. Generations of kings repaired, enlarged, and restored it. Among the most famous was King Nebuchadnezzar II. During the 6th century BC, he transformed Babylon into one of the greatest cities of the ancient world. His inscriptions proudly describe rebuilding temples, strengthening walls, and restoring sacred monuments. Several inscriptions refer to the Great Ziggurat. They celebrate its reconstruction using baked bricks and bitumen. Workers came from across the empire. Materials arrived from distant regions. The king declared that the tower's summit would rise toward the heavens. His words sound strikingly familiar to later traditions. Archaeology has confirmed that an enormous ziggurat once stood in Babylon. Excavations revealed massive square foundations, matching ancient descriptions. Ancient cuneiform tablets provide additional information about its dimensions. Greek historians who visited Babylon centuries later also described a colossal stepped tower dominating the city. Although details differ among sources, they agree on one remarkable fact. Babylon possessed one of the largest religious structures ever built in Mesopotamia. Yet by the time many later travelers arrived, the Great Tower was already falling into ruin. Wars, conquests, neglect. Time itself slowly reduced the monument to broken bricks. Stone by stone, the great temple disappeared. Its memory survived longer than its walls. As archaeologists uncovered Babylon during the 19th and 20th centuries, they found traces of the ancient city beneath centuries of dust, the famous Ishtar Gate, royal palaces, temple foundations, and the remains of Etemenanke itself. Enough evidence survives to confirm that an enormous ziggurat once dominated Babylon's skyline. But many questions remain unanswered. Exactly how tall was it? How closely did it resemble later artistic reconstructions? Did its appearance inspire the biblical story directly? Or did centuries of oral tradition gradually transform historical memory into sacred narrative? History rarely preserves simple answers. The farther we travel into the ancient world, the more history and legend begin to intertwine. The Tower of Babel stands precisely at that intersection. Part archaeology, part literature, part religious tradition. Its stones belong to the ancient world. Its story belongs to all humanity. But perhaps the greatest mystery is not whether the tower existed. Perhaps the greatest mystery is why so many different civilizations remembered it. To answer that question, we must look beyond the ruins of Babylon and explore how one ancient monument became one of the most powerful symbols in human history. By the time the armies of Alexander the Great entered Babylon in 331 BC, the Great Ziggurat still dominated the landscape. Ancient writers described a massive stepped tower standing at the heart of the city. But they also recorded something else. It was already damaged. Centuries of war, neglect, and political change had taken their toll. Alexander is said to have ordered the tower restored. According to ancient accounts, thousands of workers began clearing away the fallen bricks. The project, however, was never completed. Alexander died unexpectedly in Babylon in 323 BC. His vast empire was divided. The restoration came to an end. Once again, the Great Tower was left to time. Generation after generation watched as the monument slowly disappeared. The sun baked its mud bricks. Seasonal rains weakened its walls. Builders carried away reusable materials for new construction. The magnificent ziggurat gradually became a mound of ruins. Yet while the tower itself faded, its story only grew stronger. For centuries, travelers passing through Mesopotamia described the remains of Babylon with awe. Some believed they were seeing the very ruins of the Tower of Babel. Others imagined a monument that had once reached impossibly high into the sky. History and legend slowly merged. The biblical story spread across continents. Artists painted enormous spiral towers stretching into the clouds. Medieval scholars debated their meaning. Poets transformed Babel into a symbol of humanity's greatest ambition. The tower became far more than an ancient building. It became an idea. Modern archaeology has brought us closer than ever to understanding that idea. Excavations carried out during the 19th and 20th centuries uncovered the foundations of Etemenanke. Ancient Babylonian inscriptions describe its construction. Administrative records mention materials, labor, and restoration projects. Even a remarkable clay tablet, often called the Tower of Babel stele, appears to depict King Nebuchadnezzar II standing beside a stepped tower believed by many researchers to represent Etemenanki. Together, these discoveries confirm something important. The people of Babylon really did build one of the largest temple towers in the ancient world. It was not an imaginary structure. It existed. What remains uncertain is the relationship between that historical monument and the story recorded in the book of Genesis. Many scholars believe the biblical narrative was inspired by Babylon itself. During the 6th century BC, after the Babylonian conquest of Jerusalem, many Judeans lived in exile within the Babylonian Empire. There they encountered the immense city, its temples, and its towering ziggurat. The experience must have been unforgettable. Imagine arriving from a smaller hill country and seeing an enormous stepped tower rising above one of the greatest cities on earth. It would have seemed almost impossible. Over time, memories of Babylon may have blended with theological reflection. The result was a story that explained not only a city, but humanity itself. The Tower of Babel became a symbol of human ambition without humility, a reminder that great achievements alone cannot overcome pride. Yet the story also raises another fascinating question. Why are there so many languages? Long before modern linguistics, ancient people searched for explanations. The Babel narrative offered one answer. Today, linguists explain the diversity of languages through thousands of years of migration, isolation, cultural exchange, and gradual change. Languages evolve. Communities separate. Dialects become new languages. It is a slow process unfolding across generations. The biblical story approaches the question from a different perspective. Rather than describing linguistic evolution, it presents a symbolic account of human division and the limits of collective power. These two approaches belong to different ways of understanding the past. One, through historical and scientific investigation. The other, through sacred narrative and theological meaning. Both have shaped how people think about Babel for centuries. The ruins of Babylon themselves continue to teach us remarkable lessons. The city was once among the largest urban centers on Earth. Its engineers constructed canals. Its astronomers carefully observed the heavens. Its scribes recorded laws, trade, mathematics, and literature on clay tablets. Its temples dominated the skyline. The people who built Babylon were not simply creating monuments. They were building one of the great intellectual centers of the ancient world. The tower reflected that civilization's confidence, its wealth, its devotion, its extraordinary engineering. And perhaps that is why the monument became so powerful in human memory. Every civilization dreams of creating something that outlives its own lifetime. The Egyptians built pyramids. The Romans built roads and aqueducts. The Maya raised temples above the jungle. The builders of Babylon raised a sacred mountain of brick toward the heavens. Each civilization sought permanence. Yet history teaches the same lesson again and again. Even the greatest monuments are not eternal. Empires collapse. Cities decline. Walls crumble. The Tower of Babel reminds us that the strongest structures are still vulnerable to time. Today, only fragments of Babylon remain. Archaeologists continue studying ancient foundations. Digital reconstructions help us imagine the city's original appearance. Satellite imagery reveals traces of long-buried streets and canals. Every discovery adds another piece to the story. But some questions may never receive complete answers. Exactly how tall was Etemenanki? How closely did it resemble later artistic paintings? Did travelers carry stories of the tower across generations until they became the account preserved in Genesis? Or did the biblical authors intentionally use Babylon as a powerful symbol to communicate deeper spiritual truths? The evidence cannot answer every question, and perhaps it never will. But maybe that is what makes Babel so unforgettable. It exists in two worlds at once. One world belongs to archaeology. The other belongs to memory. One is built from bricks, the other from stories. Together, they remind us that monuments are remembered not only because they stand tall, but because they mean something. The Tower of Babel has survived not through stone, but through imagination. It continues to inspire historians, theologians, archaeologists, writers, artists, and anyone who has ever wondered how ancient people understood their place beneath the heavens. Whether Babel was history, memory, or symbol, its message continues to echo across thousands of years. It reminds us that human beings have always reached upward. always dreamed beyond their limits, always sought to leave something behind that would outlast their own generation. Some built with stone, some built with brick, some built with words. Perhaps the greatest tower humanity ever created was never the one that reached toward the sky, but the story that has continued rising through history for more than 2,000 years. Because long after the last brick of Babylon returned to dust, the mystery of Babel still stands.